All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Dimes and Donuts podcast, your deep dive into the Bad Owners Fantasy League, Week 4. How are you doing this week, Nick?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually doing amazing this week. You'll soon hopefully see why, but definitely on the up and up.
Awesome, glad to hear it. And this week we have a special co-host. You know him as the Irving Indica's manager, Brad. Brad, how are you doing?
Doing very well. I had a great week. Yeah, I don't know. Like, we'll just jump right into it. You know?
Yeah, it was a good bounce back week for you for sure. We'll go into that as well as every single player that did well and not so well as we usually do. So, Nick, you want to take us into it?
Yeah, let's hop right on over to the trades of the week.
Ooh, it's a short one this week, but an important one.
All right, so this week, like you said, Garrett, the pretty small list of teams involved in trades. Only your team, Castle Rock Rockers, and Ubby's, the Dallas Clovers. We had Ubby on last week talking about trades, and it looks like he's in even more this week. It wouldn't surprise me if that becomes a bit of a recurring theme. He seems to be kind of all in on the, let's get rid of everyone we can, keep everyone young, and then try to accumulate a ton of draft picks going into next year.
Yeah, totally. That's like Obby and the Dallas Clovers' new mantra. They're a lot like remember the 2019 Dolphins where they were just getting rid of everybody?
Oh my gosh, yes, when they accumulated like a million picks, right, for the next few years.
They got rid of like Minka. They got rid of a lot of people.
I mean, it worked out pretty well for them, so let's see if it works out for him. So let's just hop right on into it. So, Castle Rock Rockers, Garrett, you received Austin Eckler, Corey Davis, and $50 of fab.
Yes. Yep.
And the Dallas Clovers received Devin Singletary and a 2023 second-round pick.
That is correct. Yes. This is. Do not adjust your television screen. This is live. This is really happening. This is, in my opinion, and I might be a little biased, so I'd love to hear from y'all afterwards, especially you, Brad. But this is the first fleece, I think, of the season. I think last week we had a lot that will, potentially become fleeces, but we just don't know for a long time. This one is already paying dividends. What do you think about this, Brad?
This is a complete fleece. Like, I don't know. Like, what is $50 in fab? Like, what is that? That's 5% of the fab budget. Like, Devin Singletary had the most targets ever because everybody else on the Bills were getting cramps, and he just got like a bunch of passes. They will never. I don't know. And Eckler, there is that age 27 drop off, and like even say it's just this year, or maybe it's just this year, next year. It's I think it's completely worth it when you also have like the Bills next running back, and you also have the Chargers next running back, and you have Josh Allen and Austin Eckler throwing them all these I'm sure they're gonna get a ton of passes, over the years. So it's gonna pay off dividends.
Especially when drafting, I did take a lot of handcuffs. It's like I've got Moss for the Bills. I've got plenty of, down the road capital, and I didn't think I would be doing this well at the beginning of the season. Based on a few missteps in my drafting initially. So I don't know. This was just kind of a Hail Mary play. I've been extremely disappointed in Singletary's performance this year. I think I, saw Buffalo next to his name. Like, oh my gosh, he's going to go off. He's only 25. He's a big dude. Well, he's not big. He's kind of built like a bowling ball. Like, he's 5'7", but he weighs 200 pounds. So, wow. He's a big dude.
Wait, am I allowed to say, the trade that, what Brandon, got from Ubby for, Eckler? Because I think that was a way better trade that, I think Brandon...
Yeah, I mean...
I think the Dukes also had a trade.
I did. I threw out some offers for Eckler. Yeah, because, all things considered, I don't think that the Dallas Clovers trying to get rid of Austin Eckler was a bad idea at all. I think that was a great choice. This is a team that's punting. Like you said, it's a aging running back that's producing at a high level right now, so you can get a lot of value for him in a perfectly fair trade, right?
I mean, Ubby did sell him at a super low. He had 3 straight weeks of duds.
That's my issue. I think that he could have gotten a lot more from it. So I mean, for example, Pred, go into what Brandon had been offering him. You said
he offered him Tyler Algier and a second round pick, which is just infinitely better when you consider he's younger. He's probably the Falcons' lead running back, and Cordell Patterson's on IR right now, so it'd already like be paying off like this next upcoming week. But Singletary, it's just I don't know. I just feel like he has such a capped ceiling that like I'd rather have. Would he rather have Eckler?
You're not giving me enough credit here. I waited until Devin Singletary had the, like you said, like blowout game of his career, which, by the way, was only 24 points.
Yeah, which is
like,
exactly.
We had talked about it previously. I'd wanted Eckler since the jump, just because. I mean, I looked around at my running back room and I was like, okay, this year it's not great. Najee's on one of the worst teams in the league. He cannot produce. So yeah, I sat on it for a while. The funny thing is that I actually had this deal for Austin Eckler, Cortland Sutton, and $50 for the same thing for Devin Singletary and a 2023 second round pick, and we stayed on that for a long time. Like that was almost the deal. That would have been absolutely insane. But Corey Davis, I mean, he's been putting up 14, 18-point weeks all season long.
No, Corey Davis, I would honestly, I'm just like, you have Garrett Wilson, and I feel like you have Elijah Moore, who there's like they're younger, and I just feel like Corey Davis is like, I don't know, he's almost like someone And the fab, like honestly, like the only fab that matters is when you're on like $1 left. I feel like when you have.
I agree. I think the $50 fab was more of a throw-in. Corey Davis to me is weird because I feel like, Garrett, you would have taken this trade regardless of if Corey Davis was in it or not.
Yeah.
No, I definitely would have, but that was one of the. So when you're going through trades, for people that don't know, there are a lot of different offers and counter offers that are being thrown out. And, it's really smart as soon as you've thrown one out that, you're still in the negotiations. I would go ahead and reject that trade or withdraw that trade, because what happened here was we were in the middle of discussions. We were throwing out all these trades. And then after the Sutton thing, he finally wised up and was like, you know what? I'm just going to do Austin Eckler straight up for Devin Singletary in the 2023 second round. And I was like, okay, well, I'm actually going to go back to our original deal that you put on the table, and I accepted that one. So I basically got Corey Davis for free because I 100% would have done this deal for just Devin and the 2023 second round. The fab, not as important to me, but I have been, doing a lot of waiver activity recently. So it's something. It's not nothing. I don't want people to think that it's nothing. It does factor in, just not really in this trade, like at all. So yeah, I think overall grades, clearly a Rockers victory here. But who knows? Maybe Devin Singletary becomes
exactly. You never
absolutely
know.
incredible. And that second round.
I mean, we don't know who that is.
That's a top 10 pick in the draft, or almost. It's top 10 to 20.
Yeah, 100%.
We drafted like a month ago, and he's already like selling. So I'm sorry if I'm a bit like.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I mean,
like I don't know, I'm really confident in your draft. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he gets a complete stud, and like it ends up being what a fleece on the other side. It's like, could you believe you traded Devin Singletary? Like, imagine if like this was like Justin Jefferson wasn't taken in like the second round of like our draft. It was 2 years ago, and it's like, could you imagine that they did this trade? And it's like 2 years later, it's like, oh, what a fleece when he's like
100%.
So that's right.
I think it's just gonna be one of those wait and see situations. I think immediate effect, of course, Castle Rock Rockers. Absolute win. But like y'all said, maybe, who knows, maybe Eckler will end up getting hurt like Javonte Williams, right? A million different things can happen to an aging running back. I know 27 isn't, old, but it is when running backs start to hit a peak or begin to bust situation. And then, like y'all said, 2023 second round pick, especially with IDP, that's worth something. Devin Singletary might end up turning it around and becoming a fantasy producer. Unlikely. We'll see. But let's keep moving on into the dimes of the week. So this week, we actually had quite a few people with some dimes. Everyone here,
which is
like all three of us got some.
That's what I want. I want to spread the love in this segment because the Rockers, this is the first time we've even been on here.
Really?
Like we've been 2 or 3 like points right below. Like week 1, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And then Justin drops 40. And I love that. Yeah, this is the first week we've had like a lot of representation in this category. We still have a lot of these same names getting a lot of these same players, which is going to happen. But yeah, let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's see. So the quarterback of the week, Jared
Shocker.
Goff.
Shocking, but not shocking.
You think
It's shocking because Amon-Ra St. Brown was out, DJ Shark was out,
Yes.
DeAndre Swift was out, and it's like
Exactly. That's why it's shocking to me.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's not shocking to me just because if you look at his production and that team all year, like they've just been putting up monster numbers. You would think that it would be because of Swift, Shark, and the Sun God, but apparently Jared Goff's just that dude. You can't beat Goff. I'm gonna say that again. You cannot beat Goff.
I mean,
If
the
you have
Rams
him.
offense. Look at the Rams offense now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but they've also got Super Bowl rings.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah.
Who cares what they do this year?
Right? No, but that's crazy. So 34.22 points for Jared Goff. Kind of weird. I honestly would never have had that on my bingo card at the start of the year, but props to the Atlanta Cicadas for playing him this week, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So running back of the week, Austin Eckler. What do you know?
Oh, that is
immediate payoff for that
instant
trade.
This was awesome. It was so funny because if you look into, because now I'm Chargers, obviously. If you look into their media, like the last 3 weeks, they've just been like, please give Austin the ball. Like he's not getting any carries. You're just trying to, will Justin Herbert into throwing 50 passes every game. Like it's just not going to happen. And the first week, that they really start feeding him the ball and, showing him, more targets, he gets 3 touchdowns, 2 of them on the ground. And that was with, I think, still, below his normal carry total of last year. Mm-hmm. So hopefully this just shows, that organization and the rest of the team, maybe we should just keep feeding Austin Eckler.
Right. No, 100%. I mean, it clearly is looking pretty good for you. And the funny thing is, even with his diminished carry, share, he was still putting up pretty great numbers for a running back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Very
I think he's
floor.
third. I think he's third in the league now in running back points.
I guess when he's so talented, right? If you have so many busts, it's just like if law of averages, right? I suppose it just has to even out. And he just has it explodes for like this many points.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean his lowest score was week 1, which week 1 is always weird, and that was still over 11 points. So Austin Eckler, baby, I love it.
Moving on to the wide receiver of the week, Justin Jefferson. There's
That's
your boy.
his second appearance on here, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's his second appearance. This in week 1.
Justin Jefferson. Yeah, that's right. He was playing. He had a hard couple of weeks, but it was a hard week last week. But he came back strong. They were giving him some schemes, just throwing the ball to Justin.
Yeah, he was playing in England too. I think maybe that helped.
Maybe
he just likes it over there.
It was the complete opposite of prime time. It was at
right.
8:30 a.m.
Right.
So Kirk Cousins was gonna have get him to throw the ball in.
Yeah,
Oh
Kirk
my gosh,
Cousins.
maybe that's why.
That's awesome. The worst primetime quarterback of all time goes to London. Maybe they should just move the team. They're trying to expand. I don't think they could ever do it until we get planes that can fly in like an hour. But
yeah, and that time difference is so brutal. I would imagine that would be pretty brutal for the players if they can't get in or how they would adjust. I don't know.
I would think so. Yeah. Fun fact: they were playing in London at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is funny. Yeah, like that stadium is brand spanking new and would put like any NFL stadium to shame. I love the way that place looks. Super
It
fun.
did look
and
pretty
random
neat.
fact.
It's also fun because it's a neutral stadium with essentially all neutral fans, right? So they're just having a good time. It's
It
really
looks
fun
like the
to watch.
Pro Bowl stands. Like you've got people with like Steelers jerseys on, you've got people with Cowboys stuff. Like I love that vibe. It's just a celebration of like American football.
Honestly,
and I love that the league is still, doing a lot of these international games. I think we have a Mexico game coming up soon as well. Yeah, the stadium's not nearly as nice. But I love that the NFL is expanding, and Justin Jefferson clearly likes it too.
Yeah.
All right, so tight end of the week, Travis Kelce for Point Break FC.
What a shock.
Honestly, this was, we've been Mark Andrews, right? And then what a surprise, the person to take it from Mark Andrews is Travis Kelce.
Yep. What did we say at the beginning of the year?
It was always going to be Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce.
And so far it has been. Travis had the first week and this week, and Mark Andrews had the last 2.
Exactly. So nothing too crazy here. Travis Kelce is still one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Shocking, I know. Put up
I am a little
24.2 points.
I guess what I'm surprised by was like I thought they're going against the Bucks defense, and the Bucks defense is usually it's pretty stout. And I figured they would like if they were like now that Tyreek Hill's gone, I thought they would try to eliminate Travis Kelce more. But then
Right, but you know, I mean, he's just a big dude.
He is.
He can catch well. I mean,
yeah.
it's just a tough threat to neutralize.
Oh, I completely agree. And now it's just he's really
He's
good.
the number one wide receiver on that team too.
He is, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so that wraps up for offensive side of the ball. Defensive lineman of the week, another one of the Irving Indica. Tell us.
That's
I love this
me.
pick, Brad. This pick was so good.
Rashawn Gary. I've been high on him, and honestly, the Packers defense has been getting better. And I also knew it's the Patriots. I'm pretty sure the Patriots backup quarterback was playing, and I just had like a really good feeling that backup quarterbacks just like I don't know, just like
well, it's tougher for them to be have that sort of pocket presence, right?
Yeah,
I feel like that's one of the big differences between a top tier quarterback and those fringe quarterbacks. So being able to play a defensive lineman like any sort of pass rusher really against a backup quarterback is huge.
Yeah. It is, and not only was the backup quarterback, it was a third string quarterback that was playing, and then it was a great. It was.
Yeah, they almost won that game. That's crazy. Like that game went into overtime.
Yeah, the Patriots. Yeah, it was really close. Yeah.
I wanted that one for Bill so bad because he's never had any success in his career as a head coach.
Right. Sure.
Obviously joking, but I still wanted it. Like I hate when Aaron does well.
Honestly, yeah.
I don't like that.
No, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Moving on, L'Jarius Sneed for defensive back of the week on my team. You know what the funny thing about this is?
What?
I picked him in like the late 40 rounds of the draft, right?
43 to be exact.
43rd round. And he was on my bench for the first few weeks, putting up crazy numbers. Because I kept thinking, oh my gosh, he had a great week. That's wild. Cool. I'm glad he's my backup, That's awesome. And then the second week happened, and he did it again, and I was like, okay. I mean, there's no, like, this must be a fluke, right? Like, whatever. Did it again a third week, and I'm like, okay, you're in, buddy. Get in there. And he's only been putting up crazy numbers for me since. Like, he is popping off.
You have to start listening to people when they show you who they are.
Exactly.
And after 4 weeks, I mean, he has put up monster numbers. He's actually the number one cornerback in the league in fantasy right now.
Oh,
and he's projected 18.11 points in week 5.
That's crazy.
That's a defensive back with like a really good linebacker's projected numbers. Like that's crazy. I hate this pick for you.
The lowest he's scored is 15 points so far in week 2. The second lowest he's scored is 25 points. Wow. He's just putting up monster numbers every single week.
It's just gross.
This was a huge steal for me in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a great pick, honestly.
Yeah, the sack potential too. I mean, what does he have, like 3 sacks?
Well, because there's, I was watching this game, and they just scheme him to sack all the time. They blitz him constantly. He's doing amazing in coverage. I mean, he is just having a monster year.
He's doing it against good quarterbacks too.
Exactly,
like
he's doing it against great teams.
It's Tom Brady who the reason he's able to play this long is because he doesn't take sacks. It's Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray. I don't even know how you tackle Kyler Murray. Like he's great. It's a great pickup.
No, very much enjoying that. And then of course, finally, linebacker of the week. 34 points for, how do you say that?
Say his name.
We talked about this in like week 1. Oluokun.
I said Oluokun.
Oluokun. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm terrible at pronunciation.
Yeah.
This is the worst. We need media guides.
You want to know why he had so many points? It's because Trevor Lawrence fumbled 4 times, so it's like he's constantly getting back on the field.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, they were just playing the entire game.
and he was the leader in tackles last year too, and it was a big pickup for the Jags. And then,
and he's just gonna keep producing. 34 points for the Trash Fires. What more can you ask for, right?
Yeah, you love seeing linebackers with super high totals every week, and then looking at their stats, and there aren't any sacks in there.
Yes.
Because that means you can count on it. You want those
Yes.
high tackle, high,
Mhm.
tackle for loss, pass defended linebackers that are like actually giving it to the tight end.
Because they're consistent.
Stopping the run. They're so cool.
Compared to like sacks or interceptions, which are such a volatile like stat.
Yeah, that's a tough metric to keep putting people after.
Exactly.
But yeah,
but
great week.
yeah. So there you go. Those are the dimes of the week. And now let's move on into lost change. Oh, this one hurts.
Plenty of teams in here too. Half the
yes,
league had lost change this
it
week.
looks like, so Brad, you and I are in here. Garrett, you are not. Lucky. Nice.
I've never been in here. Well,
Really?
that's not- week 1 with Carson Wentz, I was in.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, not good. This is not where you want to be highlighted, but let's just hop right on into it.
No,
Geno
okay, hold
Smith.
up. Before you start,
Yep.
you make the argument that you don't want to be in this category. Let me make the argument that you do. This means that
That's
somebody
fair.
on your bench and that your depth in your team is going off.
100%.
Like the T11 Tudgays, you think they drafted Geno Smith and we're like, oh man, that's one of my quarterbacks. Now they drafted Geno Smith clearly as the 3rd best quarterback, and he's
Right.
doing this. Like
That's a
if
great
you are in
point.
the lost change segment, like you instantly, in my eyes, like you will make a farther push towards the playoffs later in the year with injuries, with bye weeks, with all this stuff. So it's kind of like give and take, because you could look really stupid if, like, for whatever reason you didn't start somebody, which there are some stupid ones in, and you could look like a genius because, wow, you drafted Geno Smith, who, I mean, who thought the Seahawks would be putting up like 40 points a week? Nobody.
So
They're
the
playing
best
Lions.
thing, Geno Smith is outperforming Russell Wilson in every conceivable metric right now.
That's
Guess
totally
who has-
true.
guess who
He
has
has
Russell
to do a
Wilson?
lot more too. Like Russ is literally he's the most bus driver he's ever had to be since he was on that Doomsday defense. And yeah, I love this. This is a great pickup.
But yeah, so 31.7 points, Geno Smith to the T11 Tudgays. And like you said, I think, wasn't Geno Smith the quarterback bench warmer of the week last week?
Yes, he was. This is 2 weeks in a row.
So
So
he's-
again, people show you what they are.
Yeah,
You
he's
better
the
listen.
best depth piece
Yeah.
right now in the quarterback position. So there you go. Moving on to running back of the week, Josh Jacobs making a huge fantasy bounce back, 34.5 points. You know,
It's crazy.
this one's,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
This one's bad. He started Alvin Kamara as well, and I understand that it was an early game, and you probably didn't set your alarm, and you probably weren't looking, and I get that. We all get that. That's something that is forgivable. But how is he not even in a flex spot? This is the number 1 running back on a team that desperately needs offensive help. Right, like their receivers aren't getting it
and
done.
someone
and
who-
that's,
Should we go back to like the draft where you traded him like all those picks? So he has
I
like
guess.
way more
I-
depth. Like he started Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Alvin Kamara, London, Adams, Barkley, and Fournette. So
Yeah.
it's like
wow.
I just feel like
I would have had Josh Jacobs over Fournette, but I can definitely see why it wasn't
Oh,
automatic.
over Terry? Are you kidding? I would have taken Scary Terry out against that defense. That
taking Terry out
Yeah.
too. But I feel like Jared actually like doesn't believe in the Cowboys as much as we do. Honestly, do you think he does? The Cowboys defense.
I think the Cowboys defense is easily a top 5 in the league. And if you look at,
I know you think that. I know you think that. I'm saying like, does Jared or like the owner of Atlanta Cicadas think the defense is that
Clearly
good?
not.
He must not. But yeah, having him on the bench, we said it at the beginning. There are some people you want in here. I'm surprised that he was even eligible as a candidate this week. So that's a tough break for the Cicadas for sure. But yeah, I mean, hey, you can't get mad that your players are doing well though. Even if they're on your bench, that means they're still on your team and they're still great players. So play them next week and you should be fine.
Maybe.
100%. All right, so let's check out the wide receiver bench warmer of the week, DK Metcalf. 21.9 points for the Flower Mound team.
Yeah,
I
we should
mean-
add 2 to that score.
At 2?
Yeah, number 2. Anybody get that? No, he was carted off the field because he had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. I did see it. That was awesome.
Yeah, 21.9 points. Yeah, when you've got a gunslinger like Geno Smith throwing G at me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
I-
lie. I was very down on the Seattle wide receivers just because
Mhm.
I thought the Seahawks were about to go in a long period of serious offensive regression after trading with Russell Wilson. But who would have thought they were upgrading? So
Well,
DK Metcalf with the wide receiver bench warmer of the week.
Well, see, I'm actually
Shocking,
on the.
but, like,
well, I'm actually on
it
the
makes
flip.
sense.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's where like I think the Lions' defense is actually maybe so bad that like Geno Smith and DK Metcalf are both in here, right? So it's like maybe their defense is so bad that like if you have people playing against the defense.
Hey,
like,
I don't know. Gino was in here last week too. They weren't playing the Lions both weeks. I've had Tyler Lockett, who
Well, no, yeah,
even
but,
putting up pretty good numbers too. So I think I'm with Nick on this one. I think that the Seahawks. Sometimes you just need to.
no, it's really more about the Lions'
Really
defense
hard.
being so bad and their offense being so good that it puts up so many points.
Right.
Yeah.
That it almost makes sense. Like if you're playing that, you should probably start players who are playing them because they're like way more likely to like put up.
Oh,
offensive
totally.
numbers.
No,
Yeah, I've literally
100%.
been
That is a
screaming for that
very
this
real
week.
thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true.
Or the Ravens. Like if you've got someone playing
Yeah,
the Ravens,
yeah,
you got
the
like the
Ravens.
worst secondary in the league by far, which has got to have Ed Reed like rolling over. Like it's just that.
Yeah.
Like such an organization built on defensive prowess is just looking terrible, like blowing like crazy leads. I mean,
they've just absolutely swapped
Doing
it.
holes.
You know? Like, and
they did swap. Yeah, that offense is cooking. So
and speaking of cooking offenses, going to the tight end bench warmer of the week. This one hurts. TJ Hawkinson with 39.9 points as a tight end for my team.
hey, he's on Detroit. We talked about it.
No, 100%. And the thing is, retroactively looking back on this was such an easy prediction to make for this week.
Really?
It really
DeAndre
was.
Swift is out. Sun God is out. I believe DJ
Chark's out.
Chark ended up being out.
I was legitimately surprised when you like left him on your bench. Actually,
I mean-
going up against Seattle too. I mean, I know you had Kittle and stuff.
100%.
But, like,
I
I
mean,
was
it was
like-
really just that it was just one of those things in which Hawkinson had been doing not fantastic up to this point. He'd been getting single-digit weeks.
Every week, basically. Yeah.
Right.
I
Last
get it.
week, he put up 10 points.
Yep.
Right. So nothing to write home about. It was kind of like, and I had just recently gotten Kittle in the trade, and Kittle historically has been a tight end to put up, some pretty good points, has a pretty low floor, I assumed. He actually did terrible for me.
I think you fell into the names here this week, and I think we all do that. Like I've had to bench
100%.
Jalen Ramsey last week, and part of that like hurt my soul. Where I was
Right.
like, wait,
It just
you're
feels
doing
weird
what?
because
Yeah,
these
it's a
guys
star
as
power
like
league.
producers.
Yes, it's a star power league, and I understand putting Kittle up a little bit. We've talked about San Francisco's offensive woes, though, so it is a little tough. But yeah, with almost 180 receiving yards.
Yeah, no, that was disgusting.
I bet you he gets 10 points next week. That's the tough part.
Right. But, it is what it
Very
is, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have won me the week, which is crazy. But
No, and you ensured that Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews kept their spots alive.
Exactly.
yeah, there
we
you
all
go.
appreciate it.
Yeah, this would have destroyed Kelsey as far as the best tight end.
He almost doubled him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely bonkers. But I'm happy to see it. It's always good when your players are popping off.
Totally.
Defensive lineman bench
Oh,
warmer of the
that's
week.
my guy. Yeah.
Hassan Reddick. Brad, talk to us. What was going
Explain
on?
yourself.
See, so
talk
my
to me.
mentality of picking defensive linemen is I always I have Kenny Clark and I have Rashawn Gary and I also have Hassan Reddick and Fletcher Cox and I usually like to double down because like when it rains I feel like it pours against these bad offensive lines. So like I was either going to start Hassan Reddick and Fletcher Cox or Rashawn Gary and
Ooh, a double start. That is a
and Kenny Clark.
wow.
So,
That is a boomer bust move.
yeah, and then usually I feel like and then I'm luckily like Rashawn Gary and Hassan Reddick both boomed. So like because if this was I would never started like Rashawn Gary and Hassan Reddick. Like I'm not gonna pretend like that was ever like a combination I was gonna go with. So it's like I can't be that sad.
That's interesting. I mean, that's interesting. It's always fun getting into like the minds of like how do different people approach these sort of different situations? What are the different strategies
I'm the
that
complete
people
opposite.
use?
Like I hate even having like
So that's
I don't know,
interesting.
two of the same players on the same team playing a week. I hate it. I like having a bunch of different eggs in different baskets.
It's not ensuring that like if the bad offensive line, it's like, what if, I don't know, like it's
Yeah,
like
what
two
if they
of my
like
players
double
can
up
get-
on one side and then it lets
Yeah,
the other
exactly.
side keep going? Yeah, no, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
I
understand
totally
the
get
thought
it.
process. But that's interesting. So moving on though, Jordan Poyer was the defensive bench warmer of the week.
Weird.
I mean, if you watched this game, he had a great game. I believe he got an interception too. I mean, he was just
He got the
all
pick in
over
the
the
end
place.
zone, yeah.
He was the one who, I believe it was a
think so,
pickoff
right.
in the end zone, if I'm remembering that correctly. Let me just take a quick look. Yeah,
Yeah,
two
two
interceptions, in fact.
That's, I mean, you don't expect that against Lamar either. Like, this is,
Right.
I have no problem with him benching.
Oh, no,
At all.
100%.
Not just because I was playing against him. Like, this isn't like a you drop the ball. This is like a you have a good depth of defense in your defensive backs. So
I mean, especially his off interceptions, it's like, I mean, it's hard to predict unless you're playing Jameis Winston that 1 year. Right?
I will
it's like hard
say
to
the
predict.
only thing is Jordan Poyer is one of those big name defensive backs, and he's been putting up good points in fantasy too.
he was coming off an injury. Like last week, he
Sure.
didn't even play, and now he's
Agreed.
still injured. He might not play this.
Micah Hyde, I think, just got put on IR.
Yeah,
So like I think he's just like he's probably like the lead safety. 'cause
I
think it was,
guess
like,
just to
actually-
me, it's, I mean, you know, big name, been putting up consistent points. He was taken in the 14th round of the startup draft just this year. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
lot of like pedigree that you're leaving on your bench, which, I mean, again, maybe that's just the difference in thought process there, but to me, all of that immediately elevates you to a starting position.
I mean, in the first half, he was probably looking smart though, right? When it was like 23 or something, right? Like
Sure.
I feel like he probably didn't get as
Sure.
many like points.
No, and, you know, like you said, you can never predict that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, 2 interceptions. I mean, you take those away, and this is a very normal start. So
true.
yeah,
Very true.
we'll see how he does going forward.
100%. And then the linebacker bench warmer of the week, Hassan Reddick.
Yep. He's
He's
a
right.
dual threat, baby. You can
Yep.
put him in either slot, and we love that.
Yeah, I mean, not to talk on it for too long because we already talked about him, but I think one of the awesome things about these is being able to put them in those defensive line spots gives them so much versatility, and especially later on when you're dealing with bye weeks and like injuries and whatnot. So nice. So
Every team should have one. Like, this is your Swiss Army knife player.
Yeah.
It's your bye week buster. Like, these are great to have. So.
No, when I was drafting, I was like, I don't even want like a DL. I want all of them to be like edge rushers specifically,
Right,
like
exactly.
LDDLs.
Yep.
Because it's like, why would I like so? Like when you got Micah Parsons, I was literally about to like, I don't know, like pull my hair out actually.
yeah, that's
But,
yeah.
Yeah, he's the ultimate
A
Swiss.
ton
Yeah.
of people wanted him.
Yeah, great. I mean, he probably takes like 80 to 90% of his snaps,
Yeah.
like in that defensive line position anyway. So,
And you can pop off against any offensive line, honestly. So it's like,
oh,
yeah, so
totally.
it's like
And he's so young too, so you're gonna have him for forever.
Yep.
forever.
Yep. He's definitely the cornerstone to the Rocket franchise.
It's awesome. Well, let's move on to the donuts of the week.
I'm so sad.
Oh yeah, look at that. So Castle Rock Rockers, Atlanta Cicadas, and Flower Mountain Team. So we were talking about how, you know, it's really not that terrible to actually be on the other one because it's about good depth and, you know,
This
it's
one's sad.
people on the up and up. It's great. This is not one you want to be on for sure. This is only downside. So let's get right on into it. I think a lot of people in a lot of leagues had Alvin Kamara starting this week and got absolutely destroyed by the early London game start and the last minute injury designation or out designation.
Yeah, can I push back on this a little bit?
Yeah.
So we talk about Alvin Kamara, right? And how it's like, oh well, you know, you probably didn't start him because of the injury designation or because it was a late start and you weren't looking at it, yada yada yada. Dude, if I'm an Alvin Kamara owner, I am sweating, especially depending on like when you took him. I mean, the man he's only played 2 games this season. He was out against Tampa and he was out this week. And his highest point total came in week 1 against one of the worst defenses in the league with 7.6.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he might just be a bench dude. Like,
And
from
he was
now on.
taken
The fact that
4th
he
round.
was there- Josh Jacobs. who scored 34 points, was on the bench for this dude. It's
Yeah.
it's names, man. It's names and like where you pick these players. I believe he was picked really high in our draft.
Fourth
Yeah, he was a 4th round pick.
Yep.
4th round pick.
That's when we thought he might be suspended too.
True. Yeah. So Atlanta Cicadas were very high on him. So
Yep.
that's tough. Especially because, yeah, like you said, I mean, he has not been performing well. And 4th round in a 53 round draft. Like that's a lot of lot riding on that draft pick. So
Oh yeah.
definitely
Less for him.
a bust
He'd get a
for
lot of
this
those,
week.
but still,
Right.
still a 4th round pick.
So anyways, moving on to the next zero, the donut, DeForest Buckner.
I have
going on
beef
there?
with this year. I was so excited. Like I was, taking pictures and showing friends and like, my family. I was like, I have DeForest Buckner, Nick Bosa, and Micah Parsons as my 3 defensive linemen. I am going to eat this year. And DeForest Buckner has yet to score over 10 points for me all year.
And with good snap counts.
He doesn't have a single sack. He barely has any tackle for losses. I can't even explain it either because he's in a lot of games where his offense isn't really on the field that much. So you'd think that he's getting more play time. He's getting something. I don't know. I'm scared. I'm not starting him anymore. Like until he goes off, I'm going to deal with the consequences. Maybe he'll be like a lost change player some week because he goes off because he should be. He's not that old. He's just, I don't know. I mean, at 28 years old, for such a good name, for such a great player, I'm very, very disappointed. And for 0 points, I mean, I know he went out early, but still, it's pretty gross. Not happy at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't have said it any better, and I'm glad you took him because otherwise I might have. Right?
Yep. Mhm.
That's true.
So, next donut, though. Marcus May, again.
I think he was ruled out, right?
He was ruled out. This was another one of those early morning London games.
Playing
But
game, yeah.
May, I believe, was actually ruled out earlier in the week. He did practice again this week, but I think he got ruled out earlier, so not sure what happened here.
We'll chalk that up for management. This week.
100%. I mean, not too much to say on that other than that was just a missed substitution. But then another one for the Farmland team, Jeremy Chin this week. 0 points were put up. This one stinks.
Yeah, this is tough. I don't think he wasn't like.
He
I
got
mean, he
injured.
got injured in
He
the
got
game.
Yeah, he got injured in the game very early
the game.
on.
Yeah, that's tough.
He only played 6 snaps. Yeah, that is tough.
6% of snaps, yeah.
He put up 29 points last week. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I would have. This one's not your fault, Farman. The other one,
Yeah, that one's on you.
You're getting torched for, but this one,
That sucks so much for everything. You know, like, I would have done the same thing.
yeah, they have a lot of boom on their team, but they probably have the most bust that we've had like all year.
They're
Looking for the
definitely
file
an
on the
interesting team because they have some
Yeah.
players that absolutely pop off, other players that are just not working at all.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a depth issue and they just don't know what to slot in, or if they're just not paying attention to it. But yeah, they definitely need to re-rack and rethink about what their lineups are going to be next week without Jeremy Chin.
100%.
Honestly, yeah.
Well, that is the last donut of the week. Luckily, everyone else was able to put up at least 0.1 points or 0.01. So let's just hop on into the best manager. CD's Nuts got a 330.2 points out of a possible 368.2.
That's 2 weeks in a row, baby.
Yeah. He
CD
is
Nuts
managing
Merging.
so well.
Yeah, he's GMing the heck out of this team.
And
Sure.
the thing too is, I mean, this is what we like to talk about, trades and whatnot. Being able to just choose the correct players each week, that's the biggest skillish difference in fantasy, right?
Yeah.
That's what separates the men from the boys.
And
for sure.
he's
'Cause if
absolutely
you're looking at matchups.
killing it.
yeah.
And then, I mean, he has Melvin Gordon on his bench. I mean, he's probably going to be having a great week next week, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the think we talked about this as being a top 3 team last week.
We did. I think we had them at 2, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember. They're definitely at 2 in my
Once we
ranking.
get there, yeah, I'll show you what the order was last week, or we'll go over it. But yeah, definitely a top 3 team last week, and they are just they're gonna
Continuing to kill
start.
it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, in comparison, the worst manager, Atlanta Cicadas. Oh no!
I think we should let Brad talk about this one because he was the worst manager last week. So you know what this is like. Actually, you both know what this is like. You've both been the worst
100%.
manager, right? Go for it. I'm gonna sit this one out. I don't even know what this is like. I have no idea.
It's honestly the most defeating thing because because just look at this, ready? 393.6 potential points, which is 30 points higher than the CD's nuts was projected. Well, maximum points, right?
He had the second highest points max in the league. So it's
and it means that you lost because of your decisions rather than being unlucky with your players.
Yep. Well, I guess he was the Alvin Kamara man. I think he still would have lost even if he put in Josh Jacobs.
He would have lost if
he still would have.
He lost by 60 points this week. So even with both of the bench players that he had, if he had slotted them in for people that didn't get zeros, he still would have lost. I think he just had a tough week all around.
A tough week, yeah.
If you look at the top 3 players right there, that are his, go-to 3, they did not have great weeks. So,
right,
that's an indicator.
It's such a weird feeling. I don't know. It's so weird how it's how only your best players in a certain week. It's one of my best players do bad. It's it's such a domino effect sometimes where it's oh man, the whole team just it's a bad week. I don't know.
Yep.
With Mark Andrews.
I mean, the nice thing is having all of your players have poor weeks at the same time. That's not terrible. It means you drop a single week rather than it kind of being spread out over multiple weeks. So you can kind of think about it that way. Obviously, you never want them to have a bad week ever, but it is what it is sometimes, and this is just an unlucky week for the Atlanta Cicadas. So moving on to the highest points and loss. Oh, look who it is. It's me. The Plano Nukes.
It's tough. It's the worst.
So I lost 287.9 to 327.64 to you, Prad, the Irving Indica. Honestly, I'm not that upset about it. Because if you look at where I was in week 1 to where I am now, having the highest points in anything is a positive.
That's right.
A good slide.
Wow, that's a win.
And actually, the funny thing is, each week since week 1, my points have only been going up.
That is true. I have been noticing that trend. That's why I'm not putting you as a bottom tier team anymore.
No, I don't think so.
In my opinion,
especially we'll get into Dak's gonna come back too, right? I can only imagine this is gonna go higher. Yeah.
So we're turning it around. It's always good to see, and figuring out who some of those draft busts were, getting them out of the starting lineup, replacing them with people who are a bit more sleeper picks and have been popping off. I'm excited for it. So, yes, highest points and loss. The loss sucks, but, it's in the right direction. And it was to who we all kind of, the consensus number 1 overall power team, obviously
you lost
Pratt
to a really good
at the Irving Indica. It happens.
Right.
I'm not upset about it.
At least you got your median. It was close there for a little bit. That Monday night game actually secured both of us.
Yeah, no, Debo had a great game.
That was his first breakout game this year, right?
Yeah.
These are pretty low floors, which
came above
pretty high floors. But, moving on, lowest points in win, Point Break FC, 255.62 was able to secure Point Break FC the victory to only a measly 217.7.
This is lucky. You really wanted to play Flower Mountain week.
100%.
255.62 would have lost to every other team in the league. This is just, hey, you only can beat who you're playing that week. You play down to competition sometimes. It is what it is. A win is a win.
And it's
this
funny,
is a tough one to be on.
A lot of teams had bad weeks this week, and we'll see that at the end when we're going through sort of the matchups and total scores, but a lot of teams did not do too hot, which is probably a bit of a cause of concern, especially as we're about to start entering into bye weeks. It's only week 4, but then week 5 is going to happen, and then week 6 is when the first round of bye weeks start, so teams are going to want to have a bit of depth going to get through that time period.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a wheat from the chaff separation for sure. these few weeks for bye weeks. That's going to be interesting. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Definitely. Let's see the biggest blowout. Castle Rock Rockers. Very nice. 292.96 to 238.1. You blew out the Atlanta Cicadas.
Yeah, it's what we do. We've actually done this a couple times now, and some people do play down to their competition. We don't believe in that. We're a step on the throat. Go for it kind of organization. And they really kicked butt. Nick Bosa right there on the right, really, he must have seen that we were desperately eyeing that median line and just decided to get 2 sacks and really secured it for me. So
we had a high median, I feel like, actually, like 280. It was like 288 or something, right?
It's the second highest median we've had so far. Week 1's median was in the 300s.
Oh yeah,
that was a crazy.
Week 1 was a crazy week. A lot of people having really high scores. I, of course, had a super low score, but a lot of everyone else was having really high scores.
Yep. But yeah, this is the second highest median we've had. Week 1 was... I don't even know what week 1 was. That was crazy.
Wild. But yeah, so that was the biggest blowout. In comparison, the most narrow victory, 286.32 by the Trash Fires to 253.98 against
not
the
even
TD Love and Tudgays. Not even close. I really think that narrow victory accolade is going to never come close to what week 1 was. Week 1 was just crazy. When the narrow victory was 0.9 point difference at like 340 something points or something.
That's crazy. That's like one tackle. That's like one tackle of points.
Exactly. That was a wild.
Literally one tackle. Yeah, and this is the 3rd time I think the Trash Fires have had narrow victory. Like the last 3 weeks in a row, I believe. I could be wrong. I know they've had at least one. So
they're one. That manager has a really good system, I've heard.
What's that?
That manager has a really good system.
Yeah. Have him on at some point and talk about how he chooses players, because it's interesting hearing how everyone does it. We've had a little bit of talking with him outside of the podcast, obviously, and sort of know what his method is. But
a little teaser for it. He's just a nerd.
True.
When nerds play fantasy football, it starts getting crazy. So
it gets different. But so there you go. Narrow victory. Way to go, the Trash Fires. Highest score, CD's Nuts, of course. The best manager in the league has the highest scoring team in the league. We already talked about him. Congratulations, CD Nuts again. Let's look at the lowest score, the Flower Mound team.
Look at all those haircuts. I think maybe that's what's going on. They got low haircuts, low scores. I don't know.
Think about it. Might have. To be fair, none of those players are the reason that he had such a low scoring week. It was like what you said earlier. His team is very boom or bust, right?
Oh yeah.
And well, he got really lucky with the Jeremy Chin like injury mid game too, and
unlucky.
Oh, unlucky. Yeah, no, completely. And then like I guess with just like mismanagement with the Marcus May, probably could have added like 30 to 40, like possibly 30 points.
100%.
Yeah, they were also our underachiever of the week as well. We didn't put it on here just because once you start just beating people down, it's tough. But their projected score for their starters was 274, and they only ended up with 217, which was a pretty far cry from what they had. So underachiever for the Flower Mound team and lowest score. Really got to pick it up moving forward.
Yeah, especially for a team that honestly after week 1 looked pretty good. They definitely had a fall.
Their week 1 was incredible.
Yeah, they definitely had a fall from grace. So we'll just have to see if maybe it's just a slump and their players and team will turn it around, or how they're going to respond to that.
The team, even with the injuries, the team has a lot of talent on the bench. Like Pickens, Olave seem to be like breaking out. So I don't know. I think the team's definitely turning it around.
100%. So let's just go into what the actual matchups were. So the median score ended up being 281.58. And in the first game, we had the Atlanta Cicadas versus Castle Rock Rockers. Garrett, there you go. 292.96 victory.
I've had a couple, tough opponents. I would say this was the scariest one for me because I had, let me think, week 2, I was playing CDs, and obviously they're going off, but I didn't think they were going to be what they are now, so I wasn't as worried. But the Cicadas were everybody's pretty consensus, first seed pick
Yep, going into
at
the
beginning
season.
of the year. And so I think I even see like that Cicadas logo, and I'm just like, oh man, like that's a scary team. But it did not prove to be this week, and now dropping to 4-4. They're a 500 team, ladies and gentlemen.
Crazy.
Pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
I did think everyone kind of thought they were the number 1 seed in the offseason.
Yeah.
But have not quite. It definitely has been shaken up once we've actually started to see how the players are playing. But the second game of the week, Dallas Clovers versus CD's Nuts. Dallas Clovers did not get any additional wins this week, staying at 1-7. But CD's Nuts, of course, secured both. Tying, they're now up there with you, Garrett, at the number 1 spot as far as win-loss totals go.
That's a scary thing for the Dallas Clovers to have to deal with, is because they are in like a tank mode. I think like they're still putting up like a serviceable roster.
Right.
They still scored 276 points, which isn't bad, like by any means. But they've lost like 3 median games by like less than 10 points like the last 3 weeks.
You know how he could have actually beat the median if he kept Austin Eckler on his roster.
Yes, he could have.
True.
He would have
to be fair,
probably blasted the median.
To be fair, though, in his situation, which he's trying to sort of play for next season,
It's actually the best possible
Honestly,
thing, right?
that's
Where it's
pretty
like he's
good.
Yeah,
getting
that's what I'm
0-2
saying. I'm
and
agreeing.
stacked.
I'm just saying
Oh,
it's
okay.
scary. You don't want him to get those median wins. He probably doesn't want those median wins.
right?
And
Because
he's
gonna
definitely
go
not in
into-
full
yeah.
tank mode. Like
And
he's
going
not
to go
going
into
out.
next season needing a few more picks to hit, and then he's over it and competing instantly.
Yeah, this
pretty
him
much.
as the second worst team in the league just because of his points for. Because his points for are still fine.
Right.
But yeah.
So then, of course, third game of the week, Prad versus myself. Plano Nukes for Simming Indica. Prad, you got me on this one. I can't
was a
say I was
good
too
week.
surprised. That was kind of what I expected, but I snuck away at least with a median victory, bringing myself to 3-5, and you were bumped up to 6-2, which along with Castle Rock Rockers and CD's Nuts, puts you in the win-loss tie for first place.
I was actually really excited to be the highest scorer of the week before Monday night, and then wow, CD's nuts, bro. Like,
There you go. They passed you at the last
passed
second.
you up. Yeah.
Dang, yeah. That's always tough, but
The
luckily you don't get
Nukes are
points
only
for being
3-5
the highest
too.
scorer. What was that?
That you're the only 3-5 team too.
Yeah.
We
At
like
least
to be
you
unique.
command your spot. So that's got to be nice.
Yeah, we like to be unique. But it's definitely good. I had a 0-4 start, so 3-5 is much nicer.
Yep.
Much nicer to see. Fourth game of the week, though, was Point Break FC getting their first win of the BAAD Owners Season 1.
Yay. Good Point Break. Nice job.
Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get the median as well, but they were able to beat up on the, busting Flower Mound team. Was only able to put up 217.7 points, dropping them down to 2-6. But put Point Break on the scoreboard at 1-7. Congrats to them. Hopefully for them, this is sort of a first step in a long steps of turning things around.
It's a very long season. A lot of games.
I think
100%.
I think she's the person that owns Javante Williams, so that was kind of unlucky too for her this week actually.
What a tough break after
It was a tough break.
After
leading the
getting
league.
your first
in yard
win,
carry.
yep. She loses one of her up-and-coming running
Yeah.
backs.
Sucks, honestly. Bad break.
Point Break.
Yeah.
Aha, nice.
All right, well, moving on past that terrible segue. Fifth game of the week, the Trash Fires moves to 6-2, with the TD11 Tudgays dropping for them, missing both the median and the head-to-head, dropping to 5-3. They were 5-1 last week and instantly dropped down to 5-3, dropping them 5 slots, right? Or was that 4? Yeah, 4.
Yeah. Yep, they were 5-1 going in, and I think we all. I posed the question last week. I was like, why are the TD11 Tudgays not, a top 3 team in our eyes? Even after being at sole possession of first place, and I think we all came to the consensus that they were probably the 4th best team. And now, at 5-3, it was a tough week, and to lose to the Trash Fires, like 286 isn't bad. the trash buyers have also been just managing the heck out of that team.
Yeah.
They're really they're giving her all she's got. At their max points are, not towards the top end of the league, but they're still producing at a high level. So.
The trash fires are such an interesting team. You say they're not towards the top end. Do you know what rank they are as far as max points for rankings?
I don't off the top of my head. I'd say they're middle of the pack at best.
Well, you would be wrong. They are actually ranked 10.
In max points for?
Yep.
They have the lowest max
They have
points
the
for.
lowest max points for in the entire league, and are
Well, that
6
is
and 2.
exactly what I was saying. I thought it'd be even a little higher, but
Yeah.
That's incredible management.
That's awesome.
That's just wow.
To me, that just shows seriously exemplary skill at fantasy football.
Hey, watch for the bye weeks though. That could be really bad for them in these next upcoming weeks.
100%, because that could be an early indicator of not having enough depth pieces that are able to pop off and get you through those bye weeks and potential injuries.
Maybe he just really knows his matchups.
Or maybe he just really knows his matchups. 100%.
Yep.
So
We'll
that
ask him about
is a scary manager to be facing it any week.
Oh my god.
But that wraps up our head-to-heads. Let's just take a look at the overall season total real fast. So we have CD's Nuts now in first place.
6 win streak.
Yeah, 6 win streak.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Pretty solid. We have Irving Indica, Castle Rock Rockers, and Trash Fires all also at 6 and 2. The tiebreaker, of course, being points 4, is what's distinguishing y'all's order there. So you two at 2 and 3. How are y'all feeling at this point in the season? It's still early, but you're starting to feel it out.
Your team. Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good, honestly, about my team. I really wanted to draft it young and people who could produce right now. And honestly, if you look at the pillars of my team, Lamar, Brees, and Justin, the oldest person is Lamar Jackson. He's 25. So and they're already putting up these level of stats. I don't know. I haven't even talked about my defense yet, and I feel like that's the most consistent part. And look at the max points for. Atlanta Cicadas is I'm right at number 2, and it's barely. So I'm feeling really good about my season.
Yeah, you are the second highest max points for and just under the Atlanta Cicadas. So, I mean, I think that there's a reason why all of us chose you as the consensus number 1, power ranking wise.
Even after a terrible week,
right? It's just because the crazy thing is, if last week you hadn't completely, had an incredibly low week, right?
Yeah.
That's your only 2 losses.
Yeah.
Other than the absolute total bust, which is an anomaly, you have been absolutely killing it. So that's scary.
What I will say, I got 327, which was the second highest scoring, but then the highest scoring person got 90% efficiency. I only had 76%, and I was barely under it, which is I think it's a great sign that I don't know, I have a lot of people that
that can step up, and it also gives you a little bit of leeway to not always have to make the right choice.
Exactly, yeah.
So definitely your team is looking real scary to face. I'm glad I faced you this week, and so I don't have to face you again for a while. Let's see, Castle Rock Rockers. So you said you're feeling pretty good about your team, Garrett?
Yeah, I think we're the most consistent team. We don't have the boom weeks of CD's Nuts or Irving Indica or even the Tudgays, but we haven't scored under 286 all season. And if you look at a lot of teams, even through 4 weeks, they're doing that a lot. I don't expect to finish, with the best record in the league, but I think over these next few weeks, just because of my strength of schedule, it does come during the bye weeks when it gets really, really easy. I think I will have sole possession of first place soon. Just going to go ahead and mark that here. So I'll either look like an idiot or a genius going forward. But yeah, this will be our first real test. I think the Irving Indica, we actually play each other this upcoming week. And yeah, I've got a lot of long shot potential right now on my roster just to try and compete with you. But I'd like to keep everybody informed that I lost one of my best defensive players first week of the season, and my best quarterback doesn't even play until week 12. And we're still doing this. So, even through injuries, suspensions, and, all the stuff that we've been thrown at, we're still a very consistent team. We've won the last 2 weeks, hitting the median and the win. So yeah, I think we're going to do really, really well. We have a very young core, carrying us through. So yeah, we'll see going forward.
Definitely. So then we have the Trash Fires in fourth place. We talked about their team a little bit already. I mean, look at that max points for. It's the lowest in the league, and they are still putting up, great points for numbers. It's not, at the same level as Irving Indica or CD's Nuts, which are kind of starting to pull away from the rest of the pack. But considering the overall otherwise mediocre performance of the entirety of the Trash Fires, it's been being managed really well. So, maybe if someone what would be scary is a team like the Trash Fires manager managing one of these super high power teams.
Yeah, totally. He's like Mike Tomlin. Right? He's one of the best coaches in the league, but he's coaching a terrible team. You put him on a contender, and who knows what that team could do. But yeah, I think you're right. That max points for, you said it at the beginning of the week, you think that is the overall metric that a lot of these teams are going to fall into. I would love to keep watching that, especially during the bye weeks. I think if we come out of the bye weeks and these standings stay similar, with the people with max points for not necessarily being at the bottom, I might have to throw that metric out, just because it really does depend on, how often you're checking sleeper, how often you're looking at matchups, how often you're, hitting waivers, how often you're doing A, B, C, or D, to really manage that out of your team.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see.
And then, so fifth, we have the TD Love and Tudgays, who had a bit of a fall from grace. They were the number 1 overall team in sole possession of first place last week, and then dropping 2 games this week dropped them all the way down to 5th place. It's still early in the season to me. They had a tough week. It happens. I think that one bad break, one way or another, and they'd be still tied with y'all. I think that they're still one of the top half teams for sure, and still a playoff contender.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think they'll definitely finish. I think that's a good spot for them. That's kind of where we had them last week, was the 4th best team. I think that they are. I still think they probably are the 4th or 5th best team in the league. And then I guess moving into 6th, the Atlanta Cicadas at 4-4.
I really can't believe
this is tough, because look at that max points for. They've had the potential to be winning every single week, right?
Yeah.
Their team is loaded with win now talent. And the scary thing is if this is your window and you aren't able to successfully get those wins,
I didn't even think about
you
that.
Might be left holding the bag in the next few years and not be able to compete.
Yeah. Well, Tom Brady might be playing for a few more years.
Oh man, that is so true. I keep forgetting that. If you look at them, I mean, they just had a trade. I don't know. That's scary.
The Atlanta Cicadas are definitely in win now mode. Their window is open right now. They have a lot sort of banked on not the future, right?
Yeah.
A lot of teams went young. And so I think Atlanta Cicadas went with a pretty good strategy of taking advantage of that and taking older players who are looking to, compete immediately. But it's not gonna do you any good if you miss the window that draft strategy gives you. So we'll have to be watching them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give them my hot seat of the week. I think if they don't have a bounce back week this week, it's gonna be really tough. So we will be watching you with great interest, Atlanta, this week. It'll be a really, really tough one.
Right. Moving on to my team, of course. 3-5, 7th place. I'm actually really happy with this. Every single week since week 1, like I said, we've been gaining more points than the previous week. I've been, I was very involved in the trades the previous week to sort of try to consolidate talent into the starters, gets rid of depth pieces, consolidate into starting pieces. My only concern, looking at my team objectively from an outsider's perspective, is my defense now looks great. My offense is not in... It doesn't feel like they're in a win-now window. It's a lot of younger talent. I'm starting a few non-starting players, right?
Yeah.
The depth is looking shaky. We'll just have to see. I'm not sure how well we're going to be able to truly contend for that first spot this year, like to win overall. But my goal is really to, if I make playoffs, I'll be happy.
If you think you make the playoffs, who's going to come out?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the Trash Fires. I think that they've been being managed very, very well.
Wow.
Like,
We were talking them up the whole time. Wow. I'm actually really kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, no, 100%. Everything I've said previously to it is extremely true. They have been competing very well with a poor roster.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. Maybe.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
No, 100%. But once bye weeks start and injuries start rolling in, you can only manage a bad team so well. And I think you're going to really start seeing games being dropped.
Oh, wait, what did you call this team?
Medium competition is going to lose. You're going to lose head-to-head matchups against more talented teams just based on the fact of talent. And being the best, I think currently you would have to say the Trash Fires manager is the best manager in the league as far as week to week and building and over-competing based on the talent level of your roster.
Oh, yeah.
But that's only going to get you so far. And I think that...
Look at my max points. Like, we're only separated by, like, 30 or 40 points.
Yeah, but you also just got, like... Your max point PF, I feel like will go up like a decent bit.
It's definitely going up. We're trending up. We've made a lot of good decisions, but I'm not willing to give my best manager hat yet to anybody but myself.
It actually should go to me.
Well, Garrett, you are seventh high. You are the seventh highest max points for, so you're not super high up there either. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're also doing great managing the team. To me, it's just jarring to see someone tied for first and also dead last in the max point 4 section.
That is crazy. No, that is insane.
And so, maybe saying the definitive best manager is incorrect or a little too hasty, but regardless, managing very well. But I think that you can only do that for so long. You can only get lucky for so long. I think he's going to fall to the top 6.
Okay.
And then
Fair enough.
Think that also between the TD11 Tudgays or the Atlanta Cicadas, or honestly, even the Castle Rock Rockers, I don't think all 3 of you are going to be there at the end of the season. The playoffs, right? One of those 3 teams could potentially get hit with injuries, get hit with a bad streak somewhere in that time period, and drop out, which would leave an opening for, assuming, again, that I don't hit any of those same things or hit any of those same problems, then I would be able to sneak in. That's sort of my path to the playoffs.
Okay, I get it. It is tough that you have to already start using words like sneak and other teams fall, to get in there. But that's where you are right now. You had a tough start, 100%. So I get that. But to remind everybody at home, top 6 get into the playoff. And the top 2 seeds will have a bye week. So currently, CD's Nuts and Irving Indica would have that bye week. If you are tied in record, we go to your points for. Right now, CD's Nuts has a higher points for than Irving Indica, but they would both still, have that bye week. Once we get further into the season, probably out of the bye weeks, we'll show like playoff projections. We'll show who's still in the hunt, who's not going to quite make it. So definitely stay tuned, for the back half of the season. But yeah, the Plano Nukes saying that they will be a playoff team soon, which is interesting. I definitely think you're trending up.
I have the path to the playoff team. I mean, I'm on the bubble, right? It's the 7th ranked spot.
Yeah.
You are contending to be able to sneak on into the playoffs. And, like you said, though, too, it's still so early. You can't really use the word sneak yet. For all we know, things are going to drastically change. And by week 10, as the trade deadline starts approaching, things are going to look very different.
I don't think you're not giving yourself enough credit. I think you're going to jump Atlanta.
You actually play Atlanta this week, so like, who knows? It could
Yeah,
even
it's a
be
huge
like next
potential
I
week.
said they
to
were in the
swing.
hot seat, baby. This is gonna be great. Oh, I can't wait for that week.
Absolutely. But then moving on, of course, the Flower Mound team at the 8th spot. They've been dropping, huge fall from grace, 6-loss streak after a strong 2-0 start to the season. Ugh, not looking too good for them. They've had quite a few donuts, quite a few players busting, not missing. They've had quite a few players doing very well, but not enough to be able to, carry the rest of the roster that hasn't been doing too great. So, I mean, I think that, honestly, just putting the Flower Mound team, Dallas Clovers, and Point Break FC all into the same bucket, I think is kind of fair at this point. Dallas Clovers and Point Break FC, honestly, it's crazy because, seriously, throughout the first 2 weeks, I would have thought that my team was going to perform much worse than them. I thought both of them, their teams were fine. Dallas Clovers and Point Break FC have just not quite been able to get over those medians, get over head-to-head matchups. They both had very tough breaks with a few point swings in one direction would have gotten them additional wins. So they're definitely, and again, like we've been saying, it's so early. They're dark horse candidates still, right? Who knows? Their rosters aren't terrible, but Dallas Clovers at this point is basically committed to the rebuild. They're trading off their powerful assets. Point Break FC has just not quite been able to get it together quite yet. So, and then of course the Flower Mound team is trending down quickly.
Yeah,
I think that's a beautiful.
completely agree.
So, who do y'all think is going to get the number 1 overall pick at this point of the season? Because that's the fun part, right?
Oh yeah, the
Dallas
way
Clovers.
Clovers, because look at their man. I mean, like their managers selling off their oldest and like most valuable assets. So it's
Right.
like,
They're on tank watch too.
Yeah,
Like, I think as soon as they drop a few more, like that team is gonna start fielding some questionable players. I think, just to get that number 1 seed.
Well, so the number 1 seed actually has nothing to do with points for. So, for if you remember, and then for everyone that's listening at home, the top 6 players make the playoffs, and for playoff-bound teams, your draft pick is determined based on how you end the season, rank-wise,
Yes.
right? But for those bottom 4 teams, in order to, give a little bit of semblance to how, fairness and how the actual NFL works with players not taking off games in that sort of way. Players are always competing. Coaches are always competing. They have actual jobs on the line, and they can't just play bad players because then they won't be able to get a job elsewhere. So the top 4 seeds, so the 7, 8, 9, 10, those that miss the playoffs, their order is actually determined by your max points for.
ooh, I see. That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so with the thought process of that being in order, and that's exactly why the Dallas Clovers, of course, knows that. They
It's just
are
top tanking.
they are huge into reading through the bylaws. I think he read every single word and talked through every single period and all of that.
I never looked at how to get the highest draft pick, so.
Oh yeah, because you weren't concerned about that. You were looking.
Yeah,
for
I actually
how
wasn't
do you
concerned
win.
about that section at all, actually. So.
Yeah, so
Right.
that's why he's selling off his high producing assets. Like Austin Eckler, if you are competing for that number 1 pick, you don't want something like that popping off on your bench because that hurts your contention. And so instead, you trade away those assets and get picks in exchange.
Sure. I mean, his max points for would have risen 30 more points this week if he didn't take him, if he didn't get rid of him.
Exactly.
Or at least like the difference of what Devin Singletary got this week. And he got rid of Corey Davis. So getting rid of 2 good players on your bench, I mean, that's a huge points.
He's in big tank commander mode.
Yep. Huge tank commander mode.
Awesome though. Well, was any more thoughts, comments from y'all? Anything
No, let's
else
do
that
a
you want
let's
to
do a
say?
top. We do a top 3 every week for team. Like our consensus top 3.
Top 3.
Oh, like power ranking wise.
Yep. Power rank.
Well, you know what, Pride, as like the weekly guest, let's hear what your power ranking top 3 are.
I would actually have to go with myself at 1.
Mm-hmm.
CD's nuts at 2. And then I actually like really believe in the talent like of the Atlanta Cicadas. I don't know, man. Like I just think the talent is there. They just got to put it together. It's been a few rough weeks. I don't know. They could have easily been like a little bit like if a few more. If they got a little more lucky, they could have been like 5-3 at least.
Okay.
Never know.
All right, Garrett, what about you?
I'm going to agree with his top two and the same order. I'm going to keep the Irving Indica and I'm going to keep CD's Nuts. But I think it's going to be the Tud Gaze. So they also have a very high max 4. I think that they'll definitely have a bounce back week and be right on chugging. They did lose Tua, right, for a week, but he's coming back. So I'm going to say TD Love and Tud Gaze are third.
Okay. I am also going to be in agreement with the Irving Indica at number 1, CD's Nuts at number 2, and I'm actually going to go all the way with what Pratt had chosen and put Atlanta Cicadas at number 3 power ranking wise. Okay? If for no other reason, then I think that, look at the max points for. That number speaks for itself. They have had the strongest roster so far into the season. I think the manager is, pretty good. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to play the right players. I think he's just been bad breaks. Now, the problem is, of course, if you keep getting those bad breaks, you're going to miss the playoffs. And I think it's weird. I feel like he is in contention simultaneously as a top 3 team, but also in contention simultaneously as not even making the playoffs. Which is
That's
weird.
your boomer plus 3 then. Okay, yeah, so those are our power rankings. You guys outrank me. So we're going to go Irving Indica, CD's Nuts, and Atlanta Cicadas. The 6th spot is jumping up to 3rd. Okay, awesome. And I think our bottom 3 teams, we have the consensus there as well.
100%.
So, yeah, I think we're good. Prad, you want to talk to any of your adoring fans out there?
Yes. Irving Indigo, we got you. We're gonna win this. We also got Jameson Williams coming back week 7. Let's do this. Traylon Burks, I don't know, turf toe, heal up.
Irving Indica, let's ride.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys. Yeah, tune in next week to week 5. We've got a lot of crazy matchups. Like we mentioned, Atlanta Cicadas play no nukes. There could be a lot of potential there. Myself and Pratt actually play next week, so we'll see what happens there. And yeah, keep it locked, keep it loaded. Dimes and donuts.
See y'all.